Check room 14, please. 4 words, said without looking up from the chart. Wade Bristow looked at her. The nurse's pen never stopped moving across the page, but her jaw had gone tight, and her shoulders had changed in the last 10 seconds in a way that had nothing to do with the chart. Room 14, she said again. End of this hall, left side. She picked up her clipboard and walked out. Wade Bristow, president of the Oklahoma City chapter of the Hells Angels, sat in exam room 3 for a long moment, looking at the closed door. He'd come in for stitches. Nothing serious. No particular reason to be anywhere near the east wing of this hospital. Then he stood, put on his vest, and walked left. What he found at the end of that hallway would put 11 motorcycles in that parking lot before the night was over. 5:12 that afternoon. None of them had known each other existed. Her left wrist was wrapped in a compression bandage. Hairline fracture, the kind that happens when someone grabs you and you pull away at the wrong angle. Lacey Mercer had not spoken to anyone outside that hospital in 4 days. The man coming to take her home tonight was the same man who put her there. Everyone at Mercy Ridge Medical Centers knew something was wrong. Nobody had done anything about it. Nobody who worked there, anyway. Wade Bristow rode into the Mercy Ridge Medical Center lot at 4:47 that afternoon, when the Oklahoma City sky had gone the flat gray of old concrete and the wind off the plains found every gap in his jacket. A shop rag was wrapped tight around his forearm, stiff with dried blood at the edges. Sheet metal, a construction site off Classen Boulevard. Not serious. He'd had worse from fence wire, from broken glass, from things he'd stopped thinking about years ago. But it had been open since 2 in the afternoon, and at 47, Wade had learned the difference between things that could wait and things that couldn't. He cut the engine and sat for a moment before swinging off the bike and walking inside. The patch on the back of his vest caught the parking lot light. A woman loading groceries 2 rows over moved to the far side of her car without a word and kept her eyes down until he passed. Wade had stopped noticing that a long time ago. Inside, the waiting room went quiet in stages as he crossed it. The young man at the desk, Tyler, name tag, maybe 22, went very still without reaching for anything. A security guard found a reason to stand near the corridor door. "I need stitches," Wade said, unwrapping the rag. "Sheet metal. It's clean." 36 minutes later, a nurse called his name. She walked toward him without hesitating, didn't glance at his vest, didn't look at the guard still watching from the wall. "Mr. Bristow, I'm Nora. I'll be taking care of you today." "Wade," he said. She led him back with the brisk economy of someone who'd walked the hall 1,000 times. 8 stitches, clean wound, no editorializing. 22 minutes, precise and unhurried. When she was done, she peeled off her gloves and started writing in his chart. Then her voice changed. Quieter, stripped of its clinical edge. She didn't look up from the page. "Mr. Bristow, before you leave, check room 14, please." He looked at her, the same look we already saw, 10 minutes from now and a hallway away. Except this time we know what it costs her to say it. Her handwriting never stopped moving, but her jaw had gone tight, and she was breathing the careful rhythm of someone who just stepped off a ledge. "End of this hall," she said. "Left side." She picked up her tablet and walked out. "Stay with this for a second. Because what Wade does in the next 10 seconds is the only thing standing between Lacey Mercer's and a ride home with the man who broke her wrist." The corridor thinned to near silence by the east end of the wing. Room numbers counted down. 16, 15, 14. Wade pushed the door open. The woman in the bed sat with both hands folded in her lap. Late 20s, the particular stillness of someone who'd learned to take up as little space as possible. Compression bandage on the left wrist. A bruise along the cheekbone, 4 or 5 days yellow. She looked at his vest, then at his face. She didn't flinch. "Hey," he said. "Hey," she said back, steady, carefully steady. He pulled the visitor's chair over and sat. "I'm Wade." "Lacey," she said. "What happened to your wrist?" "I fell," she said. The words coming out smooth and immediate, the way words come out when they no longer need the part of the brain that deals with memory. Wade recognized the tone. He'd used it himself once, a long time ago. He didn't push. "How long have you been here?" 4 days. "Derek came yesterday, my boyfriend." She said the word like one she'd decided to stop giving power to but hadn't quite managed. "He's coming tonight. He wants to talk to Dr. Carmichael about taking me home. Something moved behind her eyes, not anticipation. The opposite. What time does he usually come? Wade asked. Around 6:30, after work. I'll be right back, Wade said. He found Nora at the nursing station. Tell me, he said quietly. Lacey Mercer, admitted 4 days ago. Hairline fracture, left wrist. Contusions to the face and ribs. Official story is she fell down the back stairs of her apartment building. Nora kept her eyes on the chart. Dr. Carmichael reviewed the file day one and found no basis for a domestic violence referral. She looked up. He could see what she'd been keeping carefully contained. Not fear, but something in its neighborhood. The exhaustion of someone who'd tried every legitimate channel and found them closed. I filed 2 internal reports. My supervisor told me I was overreading it. I called the hotline this morning from my own phone. They said without Lacey's cooperation, they can't open a case. And she won't talk. Not officially. Why me? Wade said. Because in my experience, she said carefully, people who look like you don't get told to stand down and then stand down. She paused. And because her boyfriend gets here at 6:30, and I am out of options. What's his name? Derek Holt. General contractor. Holt Construction and Renovation, South Side. Wade checked his watch. 5:12. 1 hour and 18 minutes until Derek Holt walked through that door believing nothing at this hospital had changed since yesterday. He stepped into the stairwell and called his vice president. Russ Tanner picked up on the second ring, a compressor running somewhere behind him. I need you to run someone. Derek Holt. Contractor, South Side. Find out what you can. Give me 20 minutes. Anything I should know before I start digging? He's good at this, Wade said. Find out how good. Wade went back and sat with Lacey through the slow hour that followed. Neither of them talked much, which was sometimes the only thing a situation required. Outside the window, the last gray light went flafferter behind a bank of clouds moving in from the west. 5:40. A monitor beeped somewhere down the hall in its steady, indifferent rhythm. A dinner tray came and went, untouched. Something pale under gravy, a carton of juice Lacey didn't open. How many times have you watched that clock since you got here? Wade asked. She didn't answer right away. Every day, she said finally. Same time, 6:30. I used to think if I just got the room arranged right before he came, the right words ready, it wouldn't go the way it always goes. She looked at her hands. I don't think that anymore. 6:05. His phone buzzed in the corridor. He's got a prior, Russ said. Domestic disturbance call 3 years back. Different address, different woman. No charges filed. She left the state 2 months later. There's more. A restraining order from a woman named Patricia Combs. Lapsed after a year. She never renewed it. One more thing. He's not just good at talking his way out of rooms. He's good at making the people around him talk back in. Doctor included. How many of you are around tonight? A pause, counting. 11. Maybe 12. Mercy Ridge Medical Center, Wade said. East Lot. 6:15. We'll be there. Wade walked back into room 14 and sat down, and for a while he didn't say anything either, because some situations only required a person to stay in the chair. He'd learned that a long time ago, in a county hospital waiting room, he didn't let himself think about often. He thought about it now, briefly, and let it go. 6:22. Derek Holt arrived. Wade heard him before he saw him, footsteps in the corridor with a particular quality, deliberate and unhurried, the walk of a man who'd spent years moving through spaces that adjusted themselves to accommodate him. He appeared in the doorway and got his first look at the room. Derek was 38, broad through the shoulders, close-cropped hair going gray at the sides, eyes the flat, pale blue of a sky with no weather in it. Canvas jacket, Holt Construction stitched on the breast, dark work pants, boots with dried concrete on the toes. He looked like a foreman. He looked, in fact, perfectly ordinary. He saw Wade and stopped. The expression that crossed his face wasn't fear. It was the look of a man who'd walked into a room expecting it arranged one way, and found it arranged another. What is this? Who are you? Why are you in my girlfriend's room? He's visiting, Lacey said quietly. Derek's gaze cut to her, fast, reflexive, and underneath it, gone almost before it landed, the quick, bright heat of a man unaccustomed to having his assumptions corrected. Tyler, he started, then stopped, having called her by the wrong name. He recalibrated. Dana, baby, how are you feeling? Caught himself. Again, Lacey. How are you feeling? Fine, she said. I'm going to need you to leave, Derek told Wade, reasonable, one man to another. Private matter. I was invited. By who? By Lacey. Derek's jaw shifted. He was doing the math, measuring the patch on Wade's vest, deciding what to do with what he was looking at. This was the moment Russ had warned him about. He's good at making the people around him talk him back in. Look, he said, shifting registers, going for candid. I don't know what she told you, but I want you to know the full picture. We've had a hard few months. Relationships go through rough patches. That's not a crime. She fell down the stairs. It was an accident. This is between us. I'm not involved, Wade said. I'm sitting in a chair. I'd like you to leave. I know. Derek's face cycled through adjustments and landed on a decision. I'm going to get Dr. Carmichael. He looked at Lacey. Start getting your things together, sweetheart. He walked out. Lacey's good hand found the edge of the blanket. He's going to come back with the doctor. Dr. Carmichael already signed off on my discharge. He and Derek play golf together. Derek mentioned it the first day. 2 minutes later, Derek returned with Dr. Carmichael. Silver-haired, mid-50s, the bearing of a man used to being the most important person in most rooms. Mr. Bristow, I've spoken with Mr. Holt. He's asked that you leave. I'm asking you to do the same. I'm not leaving, Wade said. This is a medical facility. You have no basis for being in this patient's room. Lacey asked me to stay. She hasn't asked me to leave. Mr. Holt is her partner and her emergency contact. He has the right to. He stays, Lacey said clear, without raising her voice. The room went quiet. Dana, Carmichael caught himself. Lacey, you need to rest. Mr. Holt is here to take you home where you can recover properly. This gentleman has no. I want him to stay, Lacey said again, without heat. Without pleading, just a fact. I'll need to consult with my supervisor, Carmichael said. And left, his shoes loud on the linoleum, in a way they hadn't been on the way in. Derek stayed in the doorway, watching Lacey's wrist, her cheekbone. The way you look at things you put there. This is not going to go the way you're planning, he told Wade, quiet, conversational. You don't know what you've walked into. Wade said nothing. Derek tried a different register. Look, I get it. Someone told you something. You heard one side. He spread his hands. I know what the patch means to people, what they assume. But you're a reasonable man. You can see this is private. Two people going through a hard time. He let a bead of something resembling regret cross his face. I've made mistakes. I know that. But that's between us. That's ours to work through. He turned to Lacey, voice dropping lower, calibrated for a specific frequency. Baby, you know this isn't what you want. We've been together 2 years. You don't just walk away from 2 years. Come home tonight and we'll talk through everything, whatever you need. Lacey looked at him for a long moment. The face of a woman who'd heard this speech before, at a kitchen table, in a hallway with her back against the wall, and was, for the first time, hearing it from outside the room it was built for. No, she said. One word, flat, a door closing. No, she said again, when he started to argue. Same word, same flatness. Derek straightened, adjusted his jacket, and put the reasonable man expression back on like a coat he wasn't sure still fit. I'll give you time, he told her. We'll talk when you're thinking clearly, he looked at Wade. And you. Whatever you think you're doing, I hope you know what it costs. I know exactly what it costs, Wade said. Derek held his gaze 3 seconds, then walked toward the nursing station, already pulling out his phone. Through the half-open door, Wade watched Derek talking to a man in a suit. Hospital administration, by the look of him. Phone out, showing something on the screen. This was the part Russ had meant. Good at making the people around him talk him back in. He's called his lawyer before, Lacey said quietly. Last time I tried to leave, he had someone on the phone in 5 minutes. He knows people here. Not just Dr. Carmichael. He donated equipment to the pediatric wing 2 years ago. There's a plaque. Wade filed that away. Is there anyone coming? She asked. 11. She closed her eyes for a second. I kept thinking someone would notice. Someone who could actually do something. I didn't think it would be you. I wasn't planning on it, Wade said. 3 minutes later, the man in the suit appeared. Marcus Whitlock, patient relations, mid-40s, with the careful neutrality as of someone doing a job he hadn't designed and didn't entirely endorse. Mr. Bristow, your presence has been flagged as a potential policy violation. Mr. Holt has filed a complaint. Has the patient asked me to leave? Wade said. Whitlock looked at Lacey. She said, no. Nevertheless, hospital policy. Whitlock started. Get me the policy in writing, Wade said. I'll read it carefully. Until then, I'm a visitor invited to stay by the patient. Is there anything else? Whitlock stood in the doorway a moment longer, then left without another word. Listen, now, because this next sound is the one Derek Holt will hear in his sleep for the rest of his life. At 6:41, the east lot filled with the sound of 11 engines cutting out at once. The silence that followed had weight. It moved through the building before the headlights did. Felt in the floor before it was heard in the air. The kind of silence that makes a room hold its breath without knowing why. Then the light came. Amber, low, sweeping once across the parking lot glass and gone. Then nothing. Just the silence again, heavier now, settling into every corridor like water finding its level. Wade watched from the doorway as Derek heard it. Watched him turn toward the window, watched the hairline crack, run through the foundation of a certainty he'd spent years building. He turned and found Wade watching him across the corridor. Neither man said anything, neither had to. Nora appeared at the nursing station, tablet in both hands. There's an officer at the main entrance asking for Lacey Mercer's attending physician, and a representative from the Oklahoma Domestic Violence Intervention Program. It's not optional. The corridor went very quiet. Derek's jaw tightened. His eyes, flat, pale blue, went through something that wasn't quite recognition and wasn't quite grief. I didn't think it would go this far, he said, very low, looking at the floor. It was a small thing that contained everything. A man who'd spent years making himself large in every room, looking at the floor. It went exactly as far as you took it, Wade said. Derek's head came up. For a second, the old register tried to reassert itself. The contractor who solved problems, the man who'd never once failed to talk his way out of a room. You don't understand what you've started, he said, quieter now, almost to himself. I have a business. I have people who depend on me. He looked toward the window, toward the sound he couldn't see but could feel. This isn't over. It is for tonight, Wade said. Derek's mouth tightened. He looked once more down the corridor. At the officers, at 11 motorcycles, he couldn't see but could feel through the windows, and something in him gave way without quite breaking. 2 officers came through the east door. He went with them without resistance, throwing one last look back at the room. The performance had needed an audience. It no longer had one. Pam Ackerley, from the intervention program, spent 40 minutes with Lacey while Detective Boyle waited in the corridor. When she came out, her expression was the kind that comes from having an assessment confirmed and taking no satisfaction in it. Lacey's agreed to make a full statement, consistent with the physical evidence, Pam told Nora. We're filing for an emergency protective order tonight. Mr. Holt has a prior. This won't be his first time in front of a judge. The previous victim has been contacted. She's willing to provide a statement. Nora pressed her hand flat on the counter. Okay, she said. Her voice was even. Okay. She walked over to where Wade stood. How did you know? She asked. When I told you to check room 14, you'd never met her. You didn't know anything about her. You could have walked out. Wade was quiet long enough that the question had room to settle. I knew what she was feeling, he said. Sitting in a room, waiting for the person who put her there to come back. Counting down, keeping her face right. I know what it is when nobody comes. He looked down the hall. And I know what it is when somebody does. A nurse, he said, when she asked who came for him. I was 11. My mother had been brought into a county hospital in Lawton, and nobody told me anything. I sat in a plastic chair for 6 hours by myself. A nurse named Margaret Pruitt walked past me 3 times. Didn't look past me, didn't look through me, just walked past. The 4th time, she stopped, sat down next to me, and stayed until my aunt arrived. 40 minutes. She didn't say much. She didn't need to. He'd never forgotten her name. Never seen her again. She never knew what that did, Wade said. She was just doing what made sense to her. But I've been trying to figure out how to pay that back for 36 years. Turns out, you just sit in chairs. They look exactly like it from where I'm standing, Nora said. At 8:50, Pam completed Lacey's intake and arranged a transfer to the program's transitional housing on the north side. A confidential location where she'd stay until something more permanent could be arranged. A colleague named Wendy arrived with a bag of donated clothes, practical and clean, in Lacey's approximate size, and sat with her for half an hour while Wade waited in the corridor, not speaking, giving them the room. When Lacey came out, she was in regular clothes for the first time in 4 days, moving lighter, not free yet, but closer to it. The compression bandage was still on her wrist. She walked with Wendy on one side and Pam on the other, and she stopped when she saw Wade in the corridor. "Will you get in trouble for this? With your club? No. You're sure?" "I'm sure." She nodded, absorbing that. "I didn't know your name when I asked you," she said. "I just knew you saw it." She said it the way you say a thing that's been true a long time, but you haven't had occasion to put into words. Most people saw it and looked away, or they saw it and decided they'd misread it. You didn't look away. "Thank you," she said. It was simple, unadorned, the kind that didn't need anything added. He nodded once. She walked out with Wendy and Pam through the east exit door into the November night. Wade found Nora at the station one last time. She was charting under the fluorescent lights, dark hair coming loose from its knot in small pieces, handwriting precise and even on the page. "You should probably go," she said without looking up. "Your business here is done." "Yeah." He picked up his discharge paperwork from the counter where she'd placed it. "You're going to get blowback for this." "From Carmichael. From administration. I already filed the formal complaint," she said. 20 minutes ago. Dr. Carmichael is going to have a very difficult week." Wade almost smiled. "Good." She looked up then. The fluorescent light made her eyes look very clear. "Lacey Mercer is going to be okay." "Not right away. But she's going to be okay. I know." She put out her hand. He shook it the way she'd offered it. Firm, unhesitating, an equal exchange. "You're not what I expected," she said. "Neither are you." He walked out through the waiting room. Tyler looked up from the desk, startled to see him still there after nearly 4 hours, and gave a small nod that Wade returned. The cold hit him outside, full in the face. The east lot was mostly empty now. His 11 men gone quietly, without ceremony, the way they always went when the thing that needed doing had been done. His Harley sat alone under the amber lamplight. He put on his helmet, straddled the bike, and sat for a moment before pulling out. On the inside of his forearm, under 8 new stitches and a fresh bandage, a tattoo he'd had 11 years held its place. 2 words, block letters, "Show up." He rode north into the Oklahoma City night. Derek Holt was charged with 4 counts, coercive control, criminal harassment, assault causing bodily harm, and violation of conditions from a restraining order that, it emerged, had never been fully resolved. At his February hearing, he didn't look like the man who'd walked into room 14, certain of how the evening would go. He looked smaller. The performance had required an audience. He no longer had one. "I didn't think anyone would actually stop me," he told the court, and the prosecutor read it back to him at sentencing. Lacey Mercer moved into her own apartment in March, 3rd floor, facing east. She went back to work at Murphy's Ridge, same shift, same east wing corridor. She'd walked 1,000 times before any of this happened. On her first day back, a new intake nurse named Brianna asked her during orientation, "What do you do when you know something's wrong but you can't prove it?" Lacey stopped walking. She thought about a man in a cowhide vest, sitting down in a chair too small for him. About 4 words said to a stranger who had no reason to listen. About the way a door can open when someone on the other side decides to try it. "You notice it," she said, "and then you find someone who won't look away." If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic abuse or coercive control, the National Domestic Violence Hotline is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The number is 1-800-799-7233. It is free. It is confidential. You do not need to be certain. You only need to make the call. She just knew he saw it. That's the only thing this story ever asked of anyone. Not power, not a patch, not a club. Just someone who didn't look away. Have you ever been the one who didn't look away? Or the one who told yourself you'd misread it? Tell me which one, in the comments. I read every single one. If you're new here, this is Heart Tales. Subscribe and stay. There's always another story worth hearing. 2 more are waiting for you on screen right now.